All right, so we are working on lesson 1 of unit 3. And I know you guys have already done a little bit of work in here because that's what you guys have done through the Nearpod. So you guys have kind of been looking at this deal here. Obviously yours looks a little bit different since it's still kind of information. So what you guys are working on now is this question. If you're in the book, it's on page 210. And we're looking at number 2. So you guys have already kind of done number 1. So we're trying to figure out which line represents which bug, whether it's the ladybug or the ant. And then we're looking kind of at travel and speed and pace, right? So what you guys have to do here, and I'm going to use a Jamboard, and the reason I'm using this, okay, sorry, I had to go get my pen, so I paused for a minute. So the reason I'm using this is because it allows me to draw, and I want to be able to draw on things. So you guys got to vote and you guys got to determine whether you guys were able to pick out which line is the ladybug and which one is the ant. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys why in case you got it wrong. And then we're going to go ahead and answer this question of how long does it take the ladybug to travel 12 centimeters? And what about the ant? So the first thing you have to look at is you have two different pictures, right? So I made them large for this purpose. And then if you go to the next slide here, which you guys will not have access to, you'll just be able to see it in this video. I've got the graph. Okay, so here they're both starting at the same point. So really what we have to try to determine is, let me use my pen here, is kind of how fast they're going and how many units they go. So they're all going to start here at this point. So we're going to just kind of call this point 0 just for these purposes. Okay, they both are going to start at 0. Now, in 6th grade science, and I know you guys learned this in 6th grade science because I used to teach 6th grade science, you guys learned about how to calculate distance and having to use like a specific point. So the point used in this problem, I'm going to see if I can change my pen color here, is just the top of their head. So it's using like the front of their head here, front of the head here, okay? And that is for each one. So every time you do a measurement, you're looking at where their head is hitting the number lines. We're not looking at like their tail or one of the polka dots on the ladybug. Okay, we're looking at their head. Okay, so the ladybug, if you're using this point here as 0, okay, he went, let's see, 1, 2, 3, we're gonna say he went 4 units, right? 4 units, which I believe our units are centimeters. It doesn't say it on here, but that's what the question asks. So 4 centimeters in 2 seconds. Okay. If you're trying to figure out the actual pace, because technically we're looking at pace, but you can figure out speed and kind of use that as well. You would take your 4 divided by 2, and it would end up being 2 centimeters per second. And that is for the ladybug. Okay. So let's go to the next one. And we're looking for which graph represents 2 centimeters per second. So I'm going to write it on here again, just so we don't forget, 2 centimeters per second. So what we have here, and it's not labeled very well, is it? But we have to try to determine which line is showing 2 centimeters per second. Now, would it be easier if it was labeled? Absolutely. And you guys will get to label it in another question. But I want to break this down into like pieces for you guys. So let's pretend for this purpose that each one of these lines equals 1 centimeter. So we're down here at the bottom. Okay, so let's say 2 centimeters is right here. Okay, and let's pretend like each one of these lines is also, or this one we're going to do in intervals of 2. I'm kind of giving you guys the answer here. So this is going to be 2, 4. Sorry, I know it's hard to read because I'm writing over 6, 8. Okay, if that's the case, 2 centimeters, I think I just, hold on a minute. I'm sorry, that should be 1, not 2. Excuse me. Now I'm giving you guys the answers. This should be 1, 2, not in intervals of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you're going and it's 2 centimeters per 1 second, that's going to put your dot right here, which would mean that line U is the ladybug. So line U is the, I'm going to put LB, ladybug. Line V is the ant. Okay, and all I did was just calculate the speed that the ladybug moved for that first one, and then tried to figure out which graph was the representation. Okay, is it always this easy? No, sometimes it requires you to go and look at other pieces of information. But since we're still kind of just starting with this information, yes, it's going to be that easy. So let's go back. So we've now determined like a general speed of the ladybug. Let's go ahead and check our answer on our lines and make sure that the ant also goes in the way goes the speed that we think he goes based off, or the pace based off of the graph. Okay, so let me erase all of this. Let's do the ant in a different color. We'll do the ant in green. So same thing, this starting point here is 0. So the ant traveled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So 6 centimeters in 2 seconds. 6 centimeters in 2 seconds. If you want to simplify that, that is 3 centimeters per second. So let's go back to our graph and let's see if that makes sense. Okay. So 3 centimeters would be right here, and your 1 second hasn't changed. It's still right there. And look at that. It does cross through that point. So we have our line. So line V for sure is the ant because we just went through and solved all that, right? So I am going to keep, let's see, let me erase some of this stuff just so it's not too cluttered. And I'm going to do that on the same one as well. So what we're going to do now is use this graph to answer some questions. Okay, so this first question on here says, and this is again page 210, number 2. How long does it take the ladybug to travel 12 centimeters? And then it also asks, how long does it take the ant to travel 12 centimeters? So down here, and I'm going to relabel it, and we'll use let's use black since we're labeling an axis here, right? We said that each one of these little tick marks here equals 1. So 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, 5, 6. If I write them all on there, you won't be able to read it. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So our 12 mark is right here. That's 12 centimeters. So all we have to do, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So we're going to do and I'm actually going to erase, let's see, line. Nope. So we're going to keep this up here. We're going to put V as the ant. Okay. No, that's horrible handwriting. I'm so sorry, guys. And U is the LB, which is ladybug. And I'm going to erase all of this just so we have kind of some clear space so you guys can see kind of what I'm doing. Okay. I'm going to do the ladybug in red because ladybugs are red. There we go. Okay, so ladybug is line U. So I'm going to just take my red pen and draw all the way up from the 12 mark to this U mark here, or to the U line, and we're going to draw a little point. Okay, we're trying to figure out how many seconds it takes for the ladybug to travel 12 centimeters. So all you have to do now is draw another line. You don't have to actually draw the line. If you want to just visualize it, that's fine. But I'm going to draw a line so you guys can see. So it's 6 seconds because that's where we fall on the y-axis, right? So the ladybug takes 6 seconds. What about the ant? We'll do ant in green. Okay, same thing. I'm going to draw up to the V line this time. Then I'm going to draw over just so I can see, and it takes 4 seconds. Okay, so really that first question, you can answer it without having to do any math. You just have to look at the graph, right? So that's kind of cool. So what we're going to do now is we'll go back and answer that question in a minute. So you should be working in your book. You can go ahead and write that down. So the ladybug is 6 seconds and the ant is 4 seconds. Okay. Next, it asks you to scale the vertical and horizontal axis by labeling each grid line with a number. You will need to use the time and distance information shown in the tick mark diagrams. So what that's saying, we've already done that. I had to stop because of space. You're labeling, you're numbering. So we've got the 1, 2, 3 down here on this x-axis. It's basically just saying to number each line, right? So this would be 13, 14, 15, and so on and so forth. And then the y-axis is again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we've kind of already done that just by what I showed you guys. And then it just says to mark and label the point on line U and the point on line V that represent the time and position of each bug after traveling 1 centimeter. So what you're going to do, and I'm going to do this in different colors as well. So the ladybug line will be, the dot will be red. And again, you're showing where it crosses at 1 centimeter, which is your x-axis. So that's going to be right here. And then I'll do the other one in green. And that's going to be right here. Your dots are going to be very close together. Okay, and that takes care of, I believe that was 1.2. That takes care of all of 1.2 and all of the questions that you need to answer.